halls of Persepolis, the heart of the Persian Empire, were darkened with the weight of defeat. The grand city, which had once echoed with the triumphant strides of its king, now seemed to brood under a veil of tension. The fires that burned in the braziers along the walls cast long, flickering shadows, as if the very light was reluctant to pierce the gloom that had settled over the palace. Cyrus the Great, a man whose name had been synonymous with conquest and glory, sat upon his throne with an expression carved from stone. His eyes, sharp and calculating, reflected the cold determination of a ruler who had tasted the bitterness of defeat and was now more dangerous for it. He had lost Babylon, lost it to a man who wielded powers that defied explanation, and the sting of that loss had not dulled in the 2 years since. Before him, standing in the muted glow of the torchlight, were his most trusted generals, Mazars, Gobryas, Arbaces, and Megabyzus. These were men who had stood by Cyrus in countless battles, men who had helped build the empire from the ashes of lesser kingdoms. Yet even they could feel the cold weight of Cyrus's displeasure bearing down upon them. Cyrus leaned forward, his gaze intense, sweeping over each of his generals. "Babylon still stands," he said, his voice low, but filled with a simmering anger. "I have conquered half the known world, but that cursed city remains beyond my grasp. We should be celebrating its fall. Yet here we are, licking our wounds like beaten dogs." Mazars, the eldest of the generals and a man of sharp intellect, stepped forward. His face was lined with age and battle, his eyes as dark and inscrutable as the night. "My lord, Babylon's defenses are formidable, yes, but it was not the walls that defeated us. It was the man who leads them this era. He is no ordinary warrior. He possesses powers that are beyond human understanding, powers that turned the tide of battle against us." Cyrus's eyes narrowed, his hands gripping the arms of his throne. "Ira," he spat the name as if it were a curse. "A man with divine power, they say. But every man bleeds, Mazars. Even gods can fall." Mazars nodded, his expression thoughtful. "True, my lord, but to defeat such power, we must be cunning. We must use means that are beyond the grasp of ordinary men. We cannot rely on sheer force alone." Gobryas, a stout and battle-hardened general, spoke up, his voice gruff. "And what means do you propose, Mazars? We threw everything we had at that city, and still, we were driven back. What more can we do?" Mazars turned to Gobryas, his eyes glinting with the spark of a plan. "There are forces in this world that even the gods fear, Gobryas. In the chaos that followed Marduk's division of the worlds, many creatures of great power were scattered, lost to the annals of time. Among them are the giants, beings of immense strength and deep hatred for mankind. They were cast out and forgotten, but they still live, hidden in the remote corners of the earth." At the mention of the giants, the room seemed to grow colder, the shadows lengthening as if in response to the dark memories conjured by Mazars's words. The giants were not mere legends. They were remnants of a time when the world was young, when gods and monsters walked the earth. Cyrus's interest was piqued, his eyes narrowing in contemplation. "The giants," he repeated slowly. "I remember the stories, creatures of enormous size, driven by greed and malice. But they are creatures of chaos. Why would they fight for us?" Mazars allowed a small, cunning smile to touch his lips. "Because they hate the human race, my lord, and because they are greedy. They crave wealth, power, and the destruction of those they see as beneath them. We can offer them all that and more. I know where they dwell, far to the north in the mountains where the world ends. I will go to them, and I will offer them what they desire most, riches beyond their wildest dreams, and a chance to crush the humans they despise." Megabyzus, the youngest of the generals, whose mind was sharp as a blade, voiced his concern. "And what makes you think they will not turn on us once they have what they want? Giants are not known for their loyalty or their reason." Mazars turned his gaze to Megabyzus, his expression cool and calculating. "Because we will not trust them. We will use them, harness their strength, and once Babylon falls, we will deal with them as we see fit. They will be a weapon in our hands, nothing more." Cyrus listened to this exchange, his mind working through the possibilities. He knew that relying on such creatures was dangerous, but the lure of victory over Babylon was too great to ignore. He had already lost once. He would not lose again. "Very well, Mazars," Cyrus said, his voice decisive. "Go to these giants, offer them what they desire, and bring them to our side. But be wary. If they show any sign of treachery, destroy them. We cannot afford to let monsters roam unchecked." Mazars bowed deeply, a flicker of satisfaction in his eyes. "As you command, my lord. I will leave at once." Mazars' journey. Mazars departed from Persepolis under the cover of night, his mind set on the task ahead. He traveled north, leaving behind the fertile lands of Persia and venturing into the barren wilderness where few dared to tread. The landscape grew more hostile with each passing day, the mountains rising like jagged teeth against the sky, their peaks shrouded in perpetual mist. The air was cold and thin, and the ground beneath his feet was treacherous, a maze of rocks and crevices that could swallow a man whole. But Mazars was undeterred. He knew where he was going, for he had studied the old maps, the ancient texts that spoke of the giants and their hidden lairs. These were creatures born of the earth itself, beings whose strength was rivaled only by their hatred for the gods who had cast them out. After many days of arduous travel, Mazars reached the place he sought, a vast, craggy valley, nestled deep within the mountains, where the air was thick with the scent of sulfur and the ground rumbled with the echoes of some distant, subterranean force. The entrance to the giant's lair was a gaping maw in the side of a cliff, a dark, yawning chasm that seemed to lead directly into the heart of the earth. Mazars stood before the entrance, feeling the weight of the mountain pressing down upon him, the darkness within calling to him like a whisper from the grave. He knew that what lay beyond was no mere legend, but a living, breathing force of destruction, a power that had been locked away for millennia. With a final, steadying breath, Mazars stepped into the darkness, his every sense on high alert. The air within the cave was thick and oppressive, the walls slick with moisture, and the ground uneven and treacherous. The deeper he went, the more he could feel the presence of the giants, a sense of immense, slumbering power that thrummed through the very rock around him. After what felt like an eternity, the tunnel opened into a vast cavern, the ceiling lost in shadow and the walls lined with strange, glowing crystals that cast a sickly light over the scene. And there, in the center of the cavern, Mazars saw them, the giants. They were colossal, their bodies hewn from the very stone of the earth, their skin a mottled gray, and their eyes burning with a malevolent light. They were as tall as the mightiest trees, their limbs thick with muscle, and their hands ending in claws that could rend flesh and bone with ease. The ground trembled beneath their weight as they moved, their deep, guttural voices echoing through the cavern like the growls of some ancient, primordial beast. Mazars approached with caution, his heart pounding in his chest. He knew that one wrong move, one misplaced word, could mean his death. But he also knew that he had something to offer them, something that could turn these creatures of chaos into allies, if only for a time. The largest of the giants, a being with eyes like molten lava and a voice that rumbled like thunder, stepped forward to meet him. This was their leader, a giant known in the ancient texts as Gruggith, the Stonebreaker. "What brings you here, human?" Gruggith's voice was like the grinding of stones, deep and resonant. "Do you seek death? For that is all you will find in this place." Mazars met the giant's gaze, unflinching. "I come with an offer, Gruggith, an offer of wealth, power, and revenge." The other giants stirred at the mention of wealth, their eyes gleaming with interest. Gruggith, however, remained cautious. "Speak, human, but know that if your words do not please me, I will crush you where you stand." Mazars nodded, taking care to keep his tone respectful but firm. "I come on behalf of Cyrus the Great, ruler of the Persian Empire. He seeks to conquer Babylon, a city of immense wealth and power. But the city is defended by a warrior named Ira, a man who possesses divine strength. We have fought him before and failed. That is why I have come to you." Gruggith narrowed his eyes, studying the human before him. "And what do we care for your human wars? Why should we concern ourselves with your petty struggles?" Because the humans of Babylon are weak, Mazars replied, his voice steady. They are nothing compared to your might, but they have something you desire, riches beyond measure, gold, jewels, treasures of every kind. All of it could be yours if you help us bring down their city. The giants exchanged glances, their greed evident in the way they licked their lips and flexed their massive hands. Gruggith, however, remained wary. And what guarantee do we have that you will keep your word, human? What is to stop us from taking these riches for ourselves once Babylon falls? Mazars allowed himself a small, knowing smile. You could certainly try, Gruggith, but you would find yourselves facing the full might of the Persian Empire. Our armies are vast, our warriors skilled, and our king is not one to tolerate betrayal. But if you join us willingly, you will have not only the wealth of Babylon, but the protection of Persia as well. Together, we can crush all who stand in our way. Gruggith's eyes gleamed with a fierce, predatory light. He knew that Mazars was playing a dangerous game, but the promise of wealth and power was too tempting to resist. He could see the hunger in the eyes of his fellow giants, the desire to once again walk the earth as they had in ages past, to crush the weak beneath their feet and take what was rightfully theirs. After a long, tense silence, Gruggith spoke. Very well, human. We will join you in this war. But know this, we are not your servants. We fight for our own reasons, and we will take what we are owed. If you try to deceive us, there will be no place in this world where you can hide. Mazars bowed his head in acknowledgement. I would expect nothing less, Gruggith. Prepare your forces. The time for battle is near. The return to Persepolis. Mazars returned to Persepolis with the knowledge that he had succeeded in his mission. The giants would join the Persian army, and with their strength, Cyrus would have the power to bring Babylon to its knees. Yet, as he rode back through the barren wilderness, Mazars could not shake the feeling that he had unleashed something far more dangerous than he had anticipated. The giants were creatures of chaos, beings of immense power and insatiable greed. They could be allies in battle, yes, but they could just as easily turn against the Persians once their own desires were fulfilled. Mazars knew that he would have to tread carefully to ensure that the giants remained useful tools rather than uncontrollable threats. When he arrived at the palace, Cyrus was waiting for him in the grand hall, surrounded by his generals. The tension in the room was palpable as Mazars stepped forward to deliver his report. My lord, Mazars said, bowing deeply, the giants have agreed to join us. They will march with our army and fight against Babylon. With their strength, victory will be ours. Cyrus's eyes gleamed with satisfaction, a predatory smile curling his lips. Well done, Mazars. You have brought us a powerful weapon, one that will ensure our victory. Babylon will fall, and Ira will be crushed beneath the might of Persia. Gobryas, ever the pragmatist, voiced a note of caution. But can we trust them, my lord? Giants are known for their treachery. They may turn on us once the battle is won. Cyrus's smile faded slightly, but his confidence remained unshaken. We will keep them in check, Gobryas. We will use their strength to our advantage, and when the time comes, we will deal with them as we see fit. For now, they are a means to an end, a tool to bring down Babylon and restore our glory. Mazars nodded in agreement, though a shadow of doubt lingered in his mind. He knew the risks, but he also knew that they had no other choice. Babylon had defied them once, but it would not do so again. With the giants on their side, they would sweep across the land like a storm, leaving nothing but ruin in their wake. The persuasion of the giants. In the days that followed, Mazars worked tirelessly to ensure that the alliance with the giants was secure. He traveled once more to their hidden lair, where the giants were already preparing for war, their massive weapons being forged from the very stone of the mountains. Gruggith, ever the shrewd leader, was not content with mere promises. He demanded that Mazars show proof of the wealth that awaited them in Babylon, proof that the Persian king would keep his word. Mazars, knowing that he could not afford to lose their support, arranged for a caravan of gold and jewels to be brought from Persepolis to the giant's lair. It was a display of wealth that would have made even the richest kings envious. chests overflowing with gold coins, priceless gems that sparkled like stars, and treasures that had been plundered from the farthest corners of the empire. The giants, their eyes gleaming with greed, accepted the tribute with deep, rumbling laughter. They were pleased, for the riches confirmed what Mazars had promised, that Babylon would indeed be worth their while. But Mazars did not stop there. He spoke to the giants of the glory that awaited them, the chance to crush the human cities that had risen in the wake of their banishment, to reclaim the power that had been denied them for so long. You will walk the earth once more as gods, Mazars told them, his voice filled with the fire of conviction. You will take what is yours by right, and no man will dare stand in your way. The Persian Empire will be your ally, and together we will reshape the world. The giants, swayed by Mazars' words and the wealth before them, pledged their loyalty, at least for the time being. They would march with the Persians, they would lay waste to Babylon, and they would claim the riches that awaited them. But even as they agreed, Mazars knew that their loyalty was a fragile thing, built on greed and the promise of power. He would have to be vigilant, to keep a close eye on these creatures of chaos, to ensure that they did not turn on him before their task was done. The storm on the horizon, with the giants now in their ranks, the Persian army began to gather its strength once more. Cyrus, reinvigorated by the prospect of victory, ordered his generals to prepare for the march on Babylon. The city that had once defied him would soon fall, and the name of Cyrus the Great would once again strike fear into the hearts of all who opposed him. But as the Persian army assembled, as the giants readied their weapons of stone and steel, a sense of foreboding hung over the camp. The alliance with the giants was a dangerous gamble, one that could either lead to unparalleled victory or devastating ruin. And far away, in the heart of Babylon, Ira would soon feel the tremors of the approaching storm, a storm that carried with it the wrath of giants and the fury of a king determined to reclaim what he believed was rightfully his. The battle for Babylon was about to begin once more, but this time, the stakes were higher than ever. The giants, long forgotten in the mists of time, were marching to war, and the world would tremble beneath their feet.